Do the Kansas City Chiefs have a problem at cornerback after trading away L'Jarius Sneed and being left with Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams to contend for the number 2 cornerback position with the Kansas City Chiefs? I am of the camp that says no. I do not believe they do, but we're going to look at a couple of different articles today, both of which contend with me. One that states Joshua Williams is the answer, where I am on record saying I think Jalen Watson is going to be a number 2 cornerback in the NFL. The other article says, yes, the Kansas City Chiefs do have a problem at the cornerback position. But let's start here with an article from NFL.com. I am yanking this from the Arrow Headlines article yesterday. The article in question, titled 2024 NFL All Breakout Team Defense, Steelers, Jags each boast 2 selections. Fear Kayvon Thibodeau. But the blurb in interest reads as such. Cornerback Joshua Williams, Kansas City Chiefs, age 24. Perhaps the Chiefs were willing to move on from L'Jarius Sneed due to Williams' potential as a sticky cover corner in a man-heavy scheme. Since his arrival as a 4th-round pick out of Fayetteville State — Fayetteville's not a state, by the way, his entire college career is a lie — in 2022, Williams' growth has raised eyebrows around the league, with scouts and executives appreciating the small school standout's game. As an instinctive playmaker with exceptional length, Williams has earned rave reviews for his work as a part-time player in Kansas City's defensive backfield. He is not afraid of the bright lights and big stage, as evidenced by his play as a young defender on back-to-back Super Bowl champs. With more opportunities to showcase his talents against elite receivers in the AFC, Williams could emerge as a trustworthy complement to Trent McDuffie on the perimeter. End quote. I think that if we're going to use big moments to really define which cornerback might be ready to emerge as a starter alongside Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, as a rookie, returned an interception 99 yards to win a game against divisional foe the Chargers, wherever they happen to be playing these days, but also sealed a playoff victory against the Jaguars with a really impressive interception as well. Now, obviously, it is not simply big moments that make cornerbacks, but if we are talking about big moments as they pertain to a position's value, you're looking at quarterback number 1, you're looking at maybe wide receiver number 2, and then you're looking at corner. So a guy who can step up when the time is right, a guy who can step up when a game is on the line, which obviously is not a skill. It's more of a, but we've seen enough of it from Patrick Mahomes over the past 7 years to know, yeah, there's something practicable there. But in that case, Jalen Watson has been the guy who has more often than not stepped up in big moments. But we got this from @PFF_Chiefs on Twitter. This was at the end of the Arrow Headlines article. Stats with which I was not familiar. Joshua Williams, in his last 4 games, 112 coverage snaps, 12 targets, 1 reception allowed, 7 yards, a 39.6 passer rating allowed. Those are impressive numbers. And no, obviously, that is just 4 games. That is not the entirety of a season, the way that L'Jarius Sneed played an entire season of absolutely insane football. His final year in Kansas City. But here's what happens with stats like that. Those are stats that are ascending, right? It is a trajectory for Joshua Williams that is heading in the right direction. And this is after I mean, guys, we're looking at a long time now where Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson have been battling each other for this number 2, number 3 cornerback spot on the Kansas City Chiefs. Remember, a good portion of Trent McDuffie's rookie season, he was out with an injury early on. So that's actually how Jalen Watson found himself on the field in order to pick off Brad Pitt for the Chargers and return it for a touchdown. So these two guys have been in neck and neck battle for that spot on the roster for a couple seasons now. So I have been of the ilk that neither of them wants to claim it. Here's the thing. They're battling back and forth like this. Jalen Watson has a lot more snaps. Joshua Williams has cleaner snaps, at least from what I can figure with these two players. In that, so Jalen Watson, in my estimation, plays a little bit more like Marcus Peters. Joshua Williams plays a little bit more like L'Jarius Sneed. In that, Joshua Williams is trying to get the cleanest rep. L'Jarius Sneed was very clean rep oriented. Not a whole lot of interceptions for L'Jarius Sneed because if you did not get that window, you just weren't taking the chance versus L'Jarius Sneed. And Marcus Peters would bait a quarterback. I think I see that in Jalen Watson's game. I am not his positional coach, so it's possible that at times he just leaves a player open, right? Which is undoubtedly the case with every cornerback in the NFL. But I have been of the ilk that neither of these players has really put claim to what will be the number 2 cornerback role in Kansas City, what last year and the season before was the number 3 role in Kansas City. But it may be that they are both laying such powerful claim to the number 3 spot as it was, that neither of them was really able to wrangle that away from the other. But the number 3 spot does not constitute the number 2 spot, right? You can't take 2 number 3 cornerbacks and just say one of them is going to be the number 2 and everything will be hunky-dory. This is a different ball game having to be on the field for all those snaps. And we'll look at the snaps in a second here. But the other article, so like I said, I don't think the Chiefs have necessarily a problem at the cornerback position until it's proven, right? I think that one of these two players, Jalen Watson or Joshua Williams, is going to step up and be the guy that he needs to be. It might be rough, it might be rocky for a few weeks, but I think that will end up happening. In an article from CBS Sports, biggest red flags for 20 NFL contenders in 2024, Bills overhauled wide receivers, Bengals quarterback health among top concerns. They state this about the Kansas City Chiefs, saying cornerback depth is the problem for the Kansas City Chiefs. I strongly disagree with this because who says that it's the depth? The Kansas City Chiefs have 19 corners, and we've seen about 12 of them play legitimate NFL football. It's the top of the depth chart that might be problematic for the Chiefs. However, the article states this, quote, Kansas City wouldn't have traded L'Jarius Sneed, their top cover man in 2023, if Trent McDuffie hadn't also emerged as a versatile starter in the secondary. Even so, new running mate Joshua Williams enters 2024 with just 6 career starts under his belt, putting more pressure on the safeties. Here we have another article, another source, another writer, another organization assuming that it's Joshua Williams who gets the nod at cornerback number 2. Maybe I am the one who is out of the loop. I don't believe that this is a settled matter at this point. But to suggest that the depth for the Kansas City Chiefs at the cornerback position is problematic, I think is a miscalculation. And I think we're all willing to admit that here, right? What is the Gelman, the something hypothesis, the something Gelman hypothesis, basically stating that when you read an article in a newspaper that you know something about, you can just say, oh, that writer doesn't know what he's talking about. But the very next article, you're looking at it and you have no idea what that article is about, and you imbue the author of that article with all of the powers of knowledge that you just wrote this guy off for. Maybe that's what's going on here. But I don't think so. I think that CBS.com is less informed about the Kansas City Chiefs than our collective community. So let's look at some numbers here for L'Jarius Sneed and Joshua Williams. It's a little bit of a misnomer to look at these numbers in this way because Joshua Williams will not be in line to replace L'Jarius Sneed. He will be in line to replace Trent McDuffie, who is replacing L'Jarius Sneed. So there's a little bit of difference here in general, but L'Jarius Sneed had 16 starts last season, Joshua Williams just 2. L'Jarius Sneed had 991 snaps last season, Joshua Williams just 321. Now, this is the biggest issue to me, is that Joshua Williams played just 321 snaps last season. Jalen Watson played 440. Jalen Watson played 605 when the two players were rookies. But as I mentioned with those clean reps, Jalen Watson, when you get into these advanced statistics, gave up last season 56.3% completion. L'Jarius Sneed only gave up 51%, and Joshua Williams only gave up 44.8% completions. Now, these aren't terribly different numbers from one another, especially when you take into account the fact that Joshua Williams is playing the lowest number of snaps. Joshua Williams, therefore, probably you've got Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed covering up the 1 and 2 options for the offense. Probably during these reps, you have Jalen Watson on the field for many of them, covering up the number 3 wide receiver, leaving Joshua Williams to cover up the number 4 option on any roughly given route. Where things get a little bit more impressive for Joshua Williams is this. L'Jarius Sneed gave up a 56.2 rating when targeted, which is probably a better sort of estimation of a cornerback's play than simply completion percentage. In the NFL, if a quarterback wants to complete a pass, he's got a very good chance of doing it. You've got all sorts of communications between the wide receiver and the cornerback, or wide receiver and the quarterback. You have all sorts of routes that are meant to really befuddle a corner and leave him no option to put hands on a wide receiver because the rules are in favor of that connection versus the cornerback versus the defense, etc. There are all sorts of ways to just complete ticky-tack plays. Oftentimes, I imagine a good number of those completions, that completion percentage against L'Jarius Sneed, was a quarterback saying, hey, it's 3rd and 1. We've got to get the 1. I'm going to get you the ball. Fall forward. That's a very high completion percentage pass. It's a very low destruction rate for a defense, right? Yeah, you converted the 3rd down, but you got 1.5 yards. We're going to get back to 3rd down. That's where the rating comes into play. The rating takes into account big chunk plays. The rating takes into account touchdowns. The rating takes into account all sorts of other things from these players. L'Jarius Sneed gave up just a 56.2 rating when targeted. Joshua Williams gave up an 82.7 rating when targeted. Nowhere near as good as L'Jarius Sneed, but one would not imagine that Joshua Williams in his 2nd season would be as weathered as L'Jarius Sneed in his 4th season. But here's the thing. Jalen Watson, rating when targeted, 103.6. Remember, Jaylen Watson is not the clean coverage corner. Jaylen Watson is more, in my opinion, the Marcus Peters type. So there is a little bit of hesitation on my end looking deeper into those numbers, but this is the classic quandary when dealing with athletes. So it's easier to really see, in my opinion, with something like an offensive guard. Do you want an offensive guard as strong and aggressive as Trey Smith? I love it. I would love for that to be my offensive guard versus a guy who is more timid and won't get penalized. Why? You can iron out the penalties. You can't coach somebody in to being more aggressive. That is either in them or it is not. And the sport of football is very rough and tumble. The sport of football favors the bold, favors the aggressive. Jaylen Watson has proven he is an aggressive type corner. What will be easier for this coaching staff to do? To temper down Jaylen Watson's aggression, Jaylen Watson's risk-taking attitude, or to coach up Joshua Williams into being more aggressive. Maybe Joshua Williams is closer to the ideal corner than is Jaylen Watson. I don't know. I personally don't see it that way, but I'm not on the sidelines every day. Someone will make that call, and considering the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs have just won, I don't know if you've heard this, 2 consecutive Super Bowls, I'm going to trust that they will make the correct decision. Thank you for being here. That's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stick around for more Kansas City Chiefs content, as the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.